Hello, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Some Good News, the podcast about happiness, positivity, and joy to start your week. I am your co host, Caleb Sullivan, here with my co host.
I am Tyler Ford here, and I just want to ask everybody, especially you, Heather, what did you think of our first ever playthrough of Caleb on the ukulele for our introduction?
I, you know, if are we in Hawaii right now? I was just transformed and transfixed by that beautiful compilation of notes and strums.
So, we took the
There we go.
listeners to Hawaii.
In a
Yeah,
sense,
That is kind of awesome.
experimental marketing right there for you.
Yeah, it really
wow.
is. That really is. Well, Tyler, you said her name, but we do have a guest, and I will say a guest who's very near and dear to my heart. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself and let folks know who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Heather Kouns. I work for the North Little Rock Tourism as the Vice President of Strategic Sales. Um, I've been here since 2021, and I do love my destination and my community. And Caleb's had the opportunity to come and visit us. Tyler, I hope you come at some point as well. And it's a special place, very dear to my heart, and I love the tourism industry and the space that we are all in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Heyo.
you bring up a good point. Like, what is it about? I will say a little hint. What is it about Dogtown that makes it so
Mhm.
special?
Yeah, so
Ooh,
for me in uh my journey, as we in the industry, we talk a lot about the traveler's journey. I was born and raised in a rural town in Florida, and I had opportunities to live in cities like Miami, Tallahassee, lived up in Bentonville, and then North Little Rock kind of hit all of those points for me where I was grew up in a small town, but I also experienced these urban cities, and I was really looking for a place to live where I could have access to things like arts and culture. I wanted to be able to go to a concert on a Tuesday night, and not have to drive 30 to 45 minutes or, an hour and a half. And so I wanted that opportunity. I wanted to live in a place where there was a good community, and then accessibility for housing, things kind
yeah,
of like that for that quality of life. And so North Little Rock has kind of hit the head on it because we are right here at the capital city. We have great theaters. We have ballets, symphonies. We have the Simmons Bank Arena. We've got an amphitheater. We've got the Arkansas Travelers. There's just a lot going on culturally, that I think people kind of forget about Arkansas and this access
Yeah.
to things like that. And then you compound on top of it the rural nature of the state of Arkansas is kind of near and dear to my heart growing up in a rural community. So it kind of feels that need of, I don't always want to have the highways and the traffic, but I like that I can drive 10 minutes from my house and be in the country. And I can see
Yeah.
cattle and I can see agriculture and things like that.
yeah.
And then, kind of rounding out that quality of life aspect, I was able to buy a house as a millennial, as we know, is such a something I never thought was possible, but I was able to do. And then I ended up buying a house in this really cute neighborhood, and I have like it's a
Nice.
dream for me. So
Yeah.
I'm still kind of able again to pull in that like hometown feel because I knew all my neighbors growing up, and now I know all my neighbors now as an adult, and it's a beautiful community to be a part of. And there's just there's a the word we like to use a lot here is a little bit of a grit to the community, and people
Mm.
are very
Hmm.
passionate and they love where they live. And I love where I live too. And so it's really great to kind of be a part of that, but also to feel that when I'm out in the community as just Heather, or if I'm out in the community as Heather from tourism, to kind of feel that love for the community and the place that we live and the accessibility, and the access to arts, culture, outdoor recreation, and then just location based too. I'm 6 hours from Dallas, Nashville, St. Louis, Kansas City, like I can
Hmm.
really readily access places where, I was grew up in rural Florida. It's 6 hours before you hit the border, where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, 6 hours, I'm there. And so, obviously having flights from like Little Rock, it's been a good crossroads for me in my life and at this time. And I'm really happy to not only live here, but also get to sell the city.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
like
awesome.
amazing.
And I do have a confession. I learned yesterday that North Little Rock was not Little Rock.
And I taught
And
him. I taught
I
him
feel
that.
like, and I'm sorry about that. Do you, what's something you want people who are ignorant about that, like myself, to know about just the difference between Little Rock and North Little Rock?
Well, when we talk about putting our tourism cap on, the
Hmm.
visitors have no idea about the differences of North Little Rock or Little Rock, and because of that, we do really work close. But how I really describe it to people is North Little Rock feels like it's a whole it's it's like you drive across the bridge and you wouldn't expect there to be it's a change in the environment.
Yeah. A
And
vibe shift for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and Caleb we've talked about this, and I don't know, I can't put I can't put a finger on it, but it is literally when you cross that bridge, you do go from this metropolitan city capital state capital, pardon me, with what all goes in with that to you cross the bridge and it is like you're in a small town. For example, right now I could walk down the street and I could run into the mayor, I could run into a city council member, I can run into a judge, or I could run into one of our hoteliers, like all like just walking because people are walking everywhere. Whereas Little Rock is a little bit more that metropolitan. They're really like, I like to think of them as they're like the older sibling, the bigger sibling, and we're just kind of this like, we're this cool, funky, like little sister that's got
Hmm.
her Ivy, but we're a great place to stay. And they've done so much work here in the destination, especially in the Argenta area, which is directly across from downtown Little Rock, to develop it. And it just has its own fabric and weaving that is so, I think, Arkansas,
Yeah.
very Arkansas specific, um, in the feeling of it and how it's been curated. And it's just it's a shift in, I think, approach, a shift of community and people just it's a cool neighborhood. If you think of, a big city like New York or Chicago, like you go into a neighborhood like um, I don't know, what one of those, you're in Brooklyn, you're like, okay, I know I'm in Brooklyn. Like I
Yeah.
know I'm here.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like that where you can just feel a shift and it's you're in a different place. I'm no longer in Little Rock. But we also love that we have Little Rock because Little Rock has
Yeah.
such great
Hmm.
things. And they've done such a great job over there. And we're just so lucky to have a great partner. And I love living there because they have things like Trader Joe's and they have things like the Clinton Library and the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. And
Hmm.
we all get to benefit from having all these things. And so I really feel strongly, really hope to see that shift of thought of it being rather than um, North Little Rock is different from Little Rock, but as more of like we're all part of the same community because we all
Yeah.
just live,
Hmm.
so we're cohabitating together.
And you bring up like a really cool point, right? Like there is that vibe shift when you go across the river. How do you use that as part of like your sales pitch when you're, hitting the road, when you're pitching your awesome destination? How do
Yeah.
you kind of let them know? Be like, hey, like we're here and we're a little different, but we are a subset of this city
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
bridge.
So we've been working really hard on that positioning to really understand like what and how can we position ourselves adjacent to Little Rock.
Mm,
So we are a great destination for your smaller group who's really looking to get that authentic, personable experience. So um, we have these direct contacts with these business owners, these small business owners of, generations of family owned. Um, And we do kind of, I think we're able to service groups in a different way than perhaps the convention, a proper, convention and sales team like Little Rock CVB, who has this massive space where our capacity is probably about 500 people. So we're your great small destination market where you want a creative experience. So it's not going to be your traditional conference experience. We're talking sales. For conferences, it's going to be more of a small feel and it's going to be a creative experience. So you might not have the traditional experience where you're just stuck in a convention center. But I think there's value in that,
Yeah.
where you're going to
Mm.
be able to have a breakout room. And instead of being in a conference center for those days, you get to walk out amongst the tulips that are blooming and
Yeah.
go to our arts, our Argenta Contemporary Theater, and you know participate in a session and kind of see where the community lives and exists. So it feels a little less, I think, businessy and more interactive and more experiential. And then when we talk about our sports market, which is our other large market, we we have one of the largest sports facilities in central Arkansas and really Arkansas with Burns Park. We've got like 17 soccer fields. And so what we love is that we can kind of meet these programs where they're at, and really just talk about the the value driven of our destination. So we have a lot of value in our destination. And so if you are a family looking to come for a weekend, we have so many free activities that you can do, because we do have that value forward destination. And you have that accessibility. So you can bring your whole family here to watch your soccer tournament or your cricket tournament, and then you have the
Mm.
opportunity to turn around and really experience a lot of our attractions are free. So I think that's like just a great opportunity of positioning us, is that we have this kind of this hub and spoke approach where we have just so much accessibility to a lot of unique experiences that are kind of more value driven when it comes to our families and stuff.
That's amazing. So
Also,
essentially, what you've done and your team's done is you've really leveraged, hey, we're not necessarily competing with Little Rock,
Mhm.
but we've identified the right audience to market to,
Correct.
maybe going after like the Smurf market, maybe going after like smaller
Mhm.
associations, executive retreats. And of course, the sports and family aspect. So it sounds to me like with sports and family, it's more like extend your stay as a father, and I know Tyler's a father as well. Like we have families, we're always looking for free stuff. That's like the name of the
Yeah.
game, right?
true.
Like because they're
Yep.
so expensive. So you
Mhm.
kind of leverage that too of like, hey, like linger longer, enjoy your stay, let the kids get out and have some fun.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you've really done a good job of identifying, who the right audience is and not trying to be all things to all people, right? It
Yeah.
sounds like you've really done a
Yep.
good job of kind of drilling into your target audience.
Yeah. And
Um,
we worked really hard last year, and we actually worked at this company called AI Opti Paradise.
oh yeah, I'm familiar with
Hey,
them. Yeah,
who's that?
Yeah, and I wanna really give a big shout out to Barbara, because she was able to come in, and these were conversations we've been having,
yeah,
but we were, when you're kind of restructuring and shifting your whole sales approach, strategy, positioning, it's a lot. And so she came in and did a sales and marketing analysis, and then we just did our strategic plan, and it was just so great to have that on paper and to see it, and then to be like, okay, we can breathe now. We
yeah,
know what we're doing.
Nice.
And now we're ready to kind of put that into action. And it was intentional, a lot of
yeah,
intention, as we're kind of, and I would like to consider ourselves more of an emerging destination. And so, um, we've got a lot of development coming. And so, I think a lot of intention has gone into that.
yeah,
So I'm happy that you recognize that. So thank you.
yeah. Two things
That's a,
that emerging and adjacent. Those are two strong positions to be in, right? It's good to be you have the validity of being in the vicinity of Little Rock, but you also
Mhm.
have your own identity, which, like we've touched on in the beginning, is tangible when you're in your
Right.
destination. So seeing that fleshed out on paper, and really moving your strategic plan along is great to hear. And I'll kick it over to Tyler for some questions, but just kudos to you guys because you've got you've got great assets, got an awesome destination with a lot of personality, and I'm really excited about the direction that you guys are going in with North Little Rock.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super curious about it. This seems like the perfect kind of place for me to take my family, I'll be honest. Like I like the idea of just having, I don't know, that community like culture
Hmm.
that you've clearly displayed. So
Mhm.
for someone like me who still doesn't know too much, I know a little more now. What are the questions that you really hope we would ask?
Um, well, I think the the question that we get the most, I think you've already hit on, is the Little Rock v. North Little Rock is
Hmm.
a question we have to often navigate because people just don't really understand the difference of us. And then, I think another question would be, let's, diving into the what an emerging destination looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something I've thought a lot about. We kind of hear when we go to conferences, we kind of hear about these destinations that are established and they've
Yeah.
done all these things. But I think where some holes that we have is, what about those destinations that are kind of on the rise? And you're like,
Hmm.
we've got new asset, new asset, new asset. How, like, all at the, like, for us, we're getting two new hotels downtown. This is our first two new hotels built downtown since the 80s.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's
huge
crazy.
for us. And then our two first upper luxury hotels at that too. So that, opens up so many new doors and opportunities for our destination. And then over here, we talk about product development then. We have the new event center, and then we're building a music pavilion. It's basically this Americana music pavilion where you're going to have different artists and it's going to be interactive. It's going to be really, really cool and unique, and the only one in the state of Arkansas. Um, and there's just such a rich culture of that music. And then you also have at the heart of it all, you still have our Burns Park facility, and we're going to be doing some capital improvements over there. So all as you have all these things, it's like scaling how that scale up looks like. As a small destination, we know you usually have a smaller team. So how do I maximize my sales team, which I have. I'm a sales team of two, so you start talking about
Oh
time.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a strong team, though.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a strong team.
you're like, okay, we've got meetings market, we've got our sports market, but now we've also got this music market. And we opened a new climbing crag this year. So you've got this new outdoor adventure attraction too. So all these things are kind of converging at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something that I'm just kind of blown away apart and so excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I also just it's so much going on that's so good here for the destination. And then we're stewards of the tax dollar, and making sure that we're spending our time wisely. Having to shift where we were operating more like a smaller DMO, where there for many many years our budget was just it's a lot less. And now where we're at like the higher end of a small destination. If you look at like DI standards, we're at
Hmm.
the we were here, and now we're kind of on here when it comes to small destination. I think that scaling up is it's a hard thing to kind of look at and strategize. And then sometimes you're like, wait, like, how big are my goals?
Yeah.
Like, can we
Hmm.
reach those? Like, are you sure? Like,
Yeah.
and
And
I
how do
think
you do that with also keeping the community authentic, right? Because that's kind of
Yeah.
part of it. And you
yes.
bring up a good point that I kind of want to hit on with the DMO itself. We obviously kind of help grow and guide the destinations through a marketing effort, but it's the developers that come in and recognize the opportunity that adds inventory, which then helps us market the destination more. So there is
Right,
this kind
correct.
of relationship between the developers, economic development and the DMO. Um, it seems to me like you guys have done a good job of scaling in a smart way. Like it seems like it hasn't all been at once. It's been just
Mhm.
kind of gradual. And it seems to me like you guys are in a good position now to really grow North Little Rock, the next 10 years onward, right? Like it
Yeah.
seems to me like that's really the direction you guys are moving in. So kudos to y'all. I kind of want to shift a little bit and just talk about Heather. Like, who is Heather? Like I'll say you've been killing it. Like on LinkedIn, you're winning all these awards. Like, give me the rundown. Like I'll say what I know about Heather is my TMP classmate, one of my best, friends that I kind of came up with in the industry. I was telling Tyler, I think I'm friends with the entire North Little Rock staff. Like I've known all of you guys, even Peter, like when he was a student at
Yeah.
Arkansas Tech. So like, who's Heather? Like, yeah, what's
Yeah.
up?
So, my uh, I'm from a town called Wauchula, Florida. Town of about 5,000 people. It's an agriculture community. I grew up, out in the country. So I grew up in a small town. Was really involved in the community actually growing up. And so I went to I started working. I like to think about my career in hospitality and tourism really starting at 16 when I worked in at a pool. So working in
Mhm.
aquatics, community center. I kind of put that all into the tourism umbrella with recreation. I did that through high school, college, then I went to Florida State University. Gotta get my plug. Go Knowles.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I was waiting for it. I knew that was gonna happen at least once on this podcast.
yeah, yeah. Go Knowles. I love my team, and I studied psychology and history in undergrad, and if you had no idea what I wanted to do with life, and so I just was like, I'll study psych. It's interesting. And then I was like, I'm done with this. Let me study history because this is interesting. And I'm only 21 and I don't want to graduate this early. Then I ended up working at a camp post grad at an all girls camp up in the Northeast, where my it was just such an experience. It truly was like something out of a movie. All girls camp, so empowering. Camp Waikasuta, I loved that summer, and I learned so much about girlhood, sisterhood, and then also like kind of working with the youth and it was there that I got this opportunity to apply for this job at a hotel, which really kind of introduced me to the real tourism industry, kind of from the aquatics, recreation side, shifting to the hotel, and that was back in 2014. So I got this job for Pacific Islands Club and Saipan in the Marianas, which is in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. So I packed
Oh,
up and moved at like
wow.
2022 to Asia alone. And then I ended up working at this hotel, and it was like literally day one. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I am, I don't know if y'all ever experienced working in a hotel, but I worked there and we had a full 3 weeks of training. And so I don't know what it is like with other brands, but both the hotels I worked at, it was very intense onboarding process because you really learn a lot about your standards and how you treat your guests. And I was like, I love this all. Like I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. This is where I've always wanted to be. I like to make people happy. I like to make their dreams come true and kind of in that realm and that hotel is like it's an all-inclusive resort like Club Med. And so we had different activities. So I'd be in the morning, I'd be like, oh, I'm working at the beach, and then I'm at the tennis center, and then I'm at the kids club, and then we lived on property. I had an ocean view. I was
Oh,
like, this
Mm.
is just insane. It's insane. Like ocean view, they paid for my meals. Like, I mean, yeah,
well, shoot, I want to go work there
Yeah,
now.
I know. That sounds like a
hey,
nice
I've got
place to
connections.
work.
It was
My
incredible.
goodness.
And so it was just the best experience about it is that I was really immersed in Asian culture. So
Yeah.
island culture, the Chamorros, our guests were mostly Korean, and then you had Russian, you had Chinese, and Japanese guests. And so if you've ever visited that part of the world, um, hospitality, it's beyond. And
Mm,
so I learned so much from being immersed in those cultures. I was there for about 3 years. So I
no.
learned so much about hospitality and the integral part of what we're doing and we're serving and how we serve each other and taking your time in these just basic skills of serving others in a way. And so when I left that job, I was like, okay, let me um, transition back into America, stateside. I'm getting older. I'm wanting to be closer to family. So I moved down to Miami Beach, worked at the Lowe's Hotel, which is this luxury 4-star, 5 diamond hotel. And so I'm like, okay, this is exciting. I went from Asia to now Miami Beach, and this just, both transient destinations, but this is it was just a different experience. And then here I am in Miami, and it's the lights, it's the cars, it's
Yep.
the glamour, then the glitz,
Mhm.
and really getting immersed in that. And I love talk. The Lowe's Hotel had such a great training program too there, so it's just kind of elevating. And I just want to do those organizations because they really set me up for success by
Yeah.
teaching me the foundations and the fundamentals of what hospitality and tourism is, which is that servicing, in my opinion. uh,
I want to dig into that because I think that paradigm that you have, that is, in my opinion, a paradigm that has to be earned. Like you have to do work in, hotels, in for me it was restaurants, right? Like coming up in the food and beverage industry. Tyler, funny enough, did work in an aquatic center, so I'd like
Yeah,
to shout
no,
out the Highlands Aquatic
I
Center.
was the pool director for the town of Highlands,
Oh
so
my
that's
Yes.
pretty funny.
God.
Yeah, woo.
But I think that's kind of where it all starts, right? Like, if you have that mindset of service over self and you
Mhm,
go into our industry, then
mhm.
now doing something like you in a more administrative role, being, the salesperson for North Little Rock, that gives you a paradigm that can only be earned, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's great
And
to hear. And I really think that says a lot about you. I want to dive into, though, like, what are these awards you've been winning? Like, I just over here killing it. Come on, brag on yourself a little bit, Heather.
Yeah. So, let me finish full circle.
Oh yeah, that might help.
So
My bad. I'm over here
it's
interrupting.
okay. It's okay. So then I left hotels and went to restaurants in Miami. Um, got that restaurant experience, which led me to the DMO. And so I'm setting this up. So when I came onto the DMO scene, I moved to Arkansas. My family's a Walmart family, so I moved here after Miami because I was like, I'm done with this industry. I've been working front of house. I want a weekend. I want an evening. I want a holiday. Because that quality of life, kind of as you're in the restaurant and hotel industries, is it's taxing. So I wanted to shift, moved up to Bentonville, um, lived there, and I saw this job down in North Little Rock, and I was like, hey, this looks kind of like, it was like, oh, you'll be working with restaurants. And I was like, I've worked with restaurants before.
Yep.
It's like the
Hmm.
sales and marketing at North Little Rock CVB, and I'm like, I don't really know what this is, but like, I'm competent. I can do this. Um, and so I applied for the job, got hired on, and I was given this program called Setting the Table. And so what I did and how kind of my merging time in the DMO space was really working hand in hand with the restaurants and with our food industry in North Little Rock. I would not have been successful if I
Mm,
had not had those experiences in the hotel and the restaurant. So
yep.
what I was able to really do was uh, because I had been in those. I've been boots on the ground. I know what it means when you're weeded.
Yep.
I know what it means like when you're supposed to sell this restaurant month thing, but you're just like struggling to you know cover your overhead, and then hey, someone comes in and is like, hey, we want to do a special promotion, and you're like, oh, that's gonna hit my check average
Yep.
because because it's at the end of the day, it's business, and that's what it is. And so when I really approached the setting the table program, it was me, how can I service these restaurants, what instead of me going and taking from them, what can I do that's going to help them serve
Mm,
our our visitors, our patrons in a better, more efficient way. And so we really started working really hard I went into like every restaurant and I met with everybody and I was like putting these kind of committees together and breaking, really diving into the data to understand what our restaurant industry looks like. So, I was able to figure out the number one owners of small restaurants in North Little Rock are Hispanic or Latina. So that told me I need to reach that community. So let me reach out and work with our Hispanic outreach because I'm a white woman. I don't speak Spanish. So let me partner with this community organization and let's host them.
Yeah.
But not in our office. I'm going to host them in the community where they feel comfortable
Mm.
because it was a lot of building bridges because we just collect we're tax base and we have in Arkansas, we were able to collect a lodging and a restaurant tax. So we're directly collecting taxes from these restaurants or remitting them. And so it was like they were kind of scared of us because when we come, they're like, oh, we owe them money.
Yeah.
And a lot of that first year was me just going in and being like, hi, I don't want anything from you. I'm just here to talk to you and figure out what you need from me, actually,
Mm.
like kind of reversing
Yeah.
that role. And that was really, I think I got recognized for that work. And so one of the programs that we came out of it, we've developed our restaurant month, which I'm really proud of. It's very different from any other restaurant month or week that we do. And it's that we're not asking our restaurants to come up with a specialty or, they can certainly add something that's themed, but my goal is to get people into the restaurant eating,
Mm.
and I want them to be spending money because
Yeah.
that's what the goal is. The goal isn't to package something. The goal is to get people in your restaurant spending money.
Yep.
And we run it during the month of January. It's our lowest month for visitors. And the restaurant tax, about the last study they did, 60% of that comes from our community. So looking at our community, and it's figuring out that is who's really is the birth of those tax collections. And where does our community stand? What are their needs too? And which was like, okay, I'm gonna, let's change this. So I don't care where you eat if it's not on a list of restaurants. I just want you to eat in any restaurant in North Little Rock.
Mm.
And we set a price. So it's like for every $15, you get an entry. And then we do raffles all throughout the month.
Nice.
So, we're
Mm,
highlighting different
that's
restaurants,
awesome.
where storytelling, and then we just are pushing people to go out into the community and eat and spend money. And we've seen each year a great participation increase of restaurants that are being represented, an increase of those who are actually participating in this next year. We're going to be working with the high school, so I'm so excited to get that cohort of the community involved in well, because it is really a community promotion to
Mm-hmm.
get those restaurants out. So really proud of that program. And the second program is our food truck permitting day. So because we do run all the permits for our advertising promotion tax, that was another hole that we had. We had a really hard time getting food trucks to pay their taxes, remit those taxes, because you can't exactly go knock on their door and say, hey, y'all haven't paid.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
they can just drive away. And so what we realized, that process was horrible. For you to get a food truck permit in North Little Rock, I had an intern once. I was like, I want you to go online and I want you to tell me, I want you to look online and figure out how to get a food truck permit. 30 minutes later, I came back to his desk and I'm like, okay, like, have you figured it out? He's like, I can't find it anywhere. And I'm like, problem one. People don't know. They're not informed. So how are they going to get a food truck permit? And not going to be mad that these food trucks aren't getting permits when they can't find it online.
Yep. That
You
is
know,
Yeah,
a problem.
that is true.
that's something that we can remedy.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, what's the other? And then we found out too is that the city of North Little Rock requires a fire inspection, which Little Rock doesn't. And so we kind of fight that battle. And it's messaging, right? Well, why does North Little Rock require fire permit inspection and not Little Rock? Well, North Little Rock does that because they are concerned that if a food truck is set up at a community event, they want to ensure that it's safe. And I
Yeah.
mean, who's going to argue with that? To be like, oh, And in my time here, there was one time like I've seen a food truck blow up. So I'm like, yeah, I will absolutely advocate for that component.
Yeah.
But food trucks have to go get their fire permit, their health inspection, go to the city clerk's office, get their business license, and get their A&P permit. So let's talk about the journey of a small business owner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
And
not
they've got to
smooth.
serve their customers and
Yes,
they've got to market. Yeah, it's just
yes,
like so essentially
yes,
you just brought all that together.
correct.
Boom.
Mm,
I love that.
So it's
nice.
just a lot of aggregating and just like it was asking questions, and so I'm very proud of those programs, and they've continued and they've grown year after year. And I think that recognition was just because it was something that it made sense to me, but I guess it was more of a novelty approach,
Yeah.
of kind of instead of and this is also I think that perspective too of being in a hotel setting where you're always doing surveys and finding out guest sentiments, and so I'm like, why are we not asking our restaurant owners themselves? And the often it's like, well, they're really busy. So I'm like, why don't we walk into those restaurants
Yeah.
and see how that relationship's changed? And it has shifted by tenfold. So, it's like, okay, we're getting participation. All of a sudden, our restaurants are getting more involved. They're coming to us. Whereas before we're trying to reach out to them because we want you
Mm,
here. We want, and then all of a sudden now they see us as a DMO as an asset to them. And
Yes.
that was really where I wanted to position us to our restaurants and to our partners, is that you know, I'm always going to say this, we are stewards of the tax dollar. So I'm here to support you.
Yeah.
Um, but you are one of 400 permit holders. So as much as I want to try to be there for each of you, I cannot walk into each of your restaurants every year
Yeah.
because you're running a business and you're one of 400. So if I need something from you, it's just kind of that partnership. It's a two-way street. And so I think they're kind
mhm,
of have moved beyond being like, well, what have you done for us? And now they're like, okay, well, now we're like, we've got restaurant month and you didn't respond back to the email. I saw that you opened the email. I saw that you read the email, but
Salespeople.
you didn't you didn't you didn't follow through. And
Yeah.
I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make it drink.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of kind of that hand holding, and that's really where I think we found success, and we've kind of rinsed and repeated that same process, and we're doing it now with our hotel partners, and we've seen such a great lift with our hotel partners as I've changed roles in the organization, and I'm in the sales role now, where before had no idea what these groups are coming in, and now they're coming to us and saying, can you help support us? Can you go with us? We want to bring this group to North Little Rock, but we need some help. And I'm like, yes. And so that transition has been just so beneficial and powerful, I think. And to really showcasing the what we're supposed to do as DMOs,
It sounds
right?
to me like there's this common thread of partnership. There's this common thread of community kind of advocacy, like letting them know who you are and how you can serve them. And
Mhm.
it's so funny because I can draw a direct line from that to your hospitality career leading up to this, right? Which I think is so
mhm.
important. As we're kind of getting up to time here, I've got one more question for you. Um, what is one lesson that you've learned that if you could go back in time and know it before you started, that you would want to, leave with other hospitality professionals?
I've been thinking a lot about this. Uh, well, because this is I've had I stepped into this VP of sales role about a year and a half ago,
Hmm.
and I think one of the biggest lessons, as I've kind of finished that first year, I was like, what? Like, I'm just a whole different being. I'm like, what's one thing I wish I would have known before, and how could I pivoted? Well, I've got two thoughts on that. First, those experiences make me who I am today.
Mm,
So you kind of have to make mistakes to really learn those lessons.
hmm.
Um, but something I've been thinking a lot. and kind of wrapping up what I've learned kind of over this last year, year and a half um, is that sometimes the most efficient way is not the most effective way.
Mm, brilliant.
Um, and that's kind of how I would wrap it into a bow.
I love that. Well, Heather,
Love it. Do you have
yeah,
a quick little example of the effective versus efficient, just so how you
So,
apply that?
uh, so uh, and I say this in the DMO world, and in the hotel world, you want to do thing in the restaurant world, you're doing things the most efficient way possible. But
hmm
working with community members, you're working with stakeholders, you're working with politicians, you're working with vendors. Um, Sometimes the most efficient way to do things isn't going to get what you want
mm,
Mhm.
with a project you're working on. So there's a project I was working on. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this step, and then this step, and then this step, and then this step. No. Turns out I need to do this step, this step, this step, up to this step, this step, this step, this step,
Yeah.
to actually get to that end goal.
yeah.
Because
Flexibility.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gotta adapt. Be adaptable. Love it.
I love
yeah,
that. Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
and
Heather, you
absolutely.
are the best. I just wanted to say thank you for your time today.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, this has been great. I look forward to seeing you soon. I'm sure I will. If people want to get to know you or to learn more about you, where can folks find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Heather Kouns, or you can also email me at heather@northlittlerock.org. I'm on all the kind of the socials as just my name, Heather Kouns. Also want to give a shout out to Waveland.
Yeah, the
You're in
Yep.
dog,
Dogtown. Lenny,
Dogtown.
Sissy.
Dogtown.
Hello,
She's
puppy.
yeah.
I love that. And Tyler, where can people find you?
You know, I love that question because I have such a short answer every single time. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's just about it.
Perfect. And if you guys want to find me, I am Caleb Sullivan with Paradise Advertising and Marketing. You can find me on LinkedIn as well at Caleb Sullivan. And then my email is csullivan@paradiseadv.com. And this has been Give Me Some Good News.